I'm Phil Porter from Takaraka Bush Resort at Carnarvon Gorge. This is going into Moss Garden. The cliffs in this area are very, very spectacular, very vertical cliffs, and that's just because of the geology of the area. The rocks are a sandstone, a very, very soft stone, and when the creek rides down low, you eventually will get an overhang, and because it is soft rock, it just breaks off, it just shears off, and you end up with this absolute vertical cliff. And that's very, very evident as you're walking in towards the Moss Garden. The area was recently burnt in a bushfire, but it will spring back remarkably quickly. In fact, already about 2 weeks after the fire, we're starting to see regeneration happening. Just coming up towards a really beautiful old tree. It's what they call a cluster fig. There are many, many figs in this area, native figs, and they all tend to have this very unusual habit. They put their roots right down a huge distance to get to water. Very, very tenacious plants. And this old fella would be hundreds of years old. It's growing on top of a big block of sandstone, and its roots are just about wrapped right around the sandstone. But the interesting part with these roots are where they actually cross over each other, they meld together. They actually grow together and form one big mass rather than two separate entities. You can see that very clearly in a lot of places through here. There's some very, very beautiful old trees in the Carnarvon Gorge area, but this is probably one of my favourites, I think. The Moss Garden area is very, very lush and green. There is actually rainforest up in there. It's such a beautifully protected area and so sheltered, and with the permanent water, it's a real oasis. And many, many species of fern in the area. Some of the big bird nest ferns in the area grow to almost the height of a person.
How old do you think this tree is?
It'd be impossible to say just how old the tree is, but it would be hundreds of years. It would have to be several hundred years old.
Grown out of the sandstone.
Yeah, there's just a big block of sandstone. Obviously a seed was deposited on the top, and the tree started, and it's just wrapped its roots right around the sandstone. And the sandstone being so almost like a sponge, it just holds so much moisture. The roots go right around it and get into it to look for water. You can see a lot of smaller roots just coming out, and that eventually will thicken up and be like the others.
Do they do coppicing where you get trunks growing off?
Yeah, they do. Yes. And there's some really unusual habits with particularly the figs, the native figs. There's quite a few places where a branch will hang right out and they'll drop a root down into the ground, and then it will actually regrow from there and take off again. You'll see sometimes trees growing in other trees. So, yeah, they'll grow almost anywhere, incredibly tenacious. I think there are about 4 species of fig tree in the area. You can see there are a lot of little lizards and all sorts of creatures in the area too. They've got a perfect habitat too, and the gnarled roots of the figs do make a beautiful place for them to hide. You can see here how white the sandstone is. It is a really, really pure white rock when it's freshly broken. Some of the big trees through here are turpentine trees. Some of these are really massive in size. You can see how the newly broken sandstone is very, very white, just indicating that the sand was washed down from a very, very long distance away. And as we come in towards Moss Garden, the vegetation becomes thicker and more rainforest-like.
It was quite purple.
The rock that you can see here is actually the base rock. It's the mudstone which is down below the sandstone, and that stuff being so non-porous, it's the water just can't get into it, and so the water seeps down through the sandstone. When it hits that layer, it can't go any further and is forced out sideways. That's why Carnarvon Creek has never ever stopped flowing. The creek here is very, very typical, I suppose, of a lot of the little side gorges in Carnarvon Gorge. The water coming out of there is just seeping straight out of the rock, and so it's very, very clear, clean water. And it's also a very good place. At 1250, you can see those really sharp angles on the rocks, very, very smooth faces and very sharp angles. Very typical of the rock through Carnarvon Gorge. And as you come up into Moss Garden, you get a really excellent view of the way the water seeps down through the sandstone until it hits that impervious mudstone layer and is then forced out sideways. And at that point you get water literally just dripping out of the walls continually. And it never ever stops, it never changes. It doesn't matter whether it rains or whether we have drought, it will just go like this continually. And at that line there are a row of ferns, and then below all the moss. You'll see a lot of places where there's fig trees that have grown, their roots are growing right out and around, and they're just completely covered in moss. The little waterfall at the head of Moss Garden is right at that level, at the layer, the difference between the two layers, where the sandstone meets the mudstone.
Right. So that's the mudstone.
So this is the mudstone, and then from this layer, from here up, is the sandstone. Yeah, the top of the waterfall marks the exact top of the impervious layer, the mudstones which underlie the sandstone. So from the top of the waterfall upwards is all sandstone, and being such a loose, porous rock, the water seeps through it quite easily until it gets down to that layer and is then forced out. It would take several thousand years for the water to get through. So the water that you're seeing here probably would have last seen the light of day several thousand years ago in the past. I don't know that this water has ever been dated, age dated. There is a way of dating age. I don't know that it's ever been done here. It's interesting to do. But it's quite likely this wouldn't have seen the light of day for several thousand years. And the wildlife up in this area is beautiful too. It's such a cool area, and that permanent water, there's a lot of frogs and all sorts of things. There's a lot of fish in the creek, and occasionally we'll see a platypus swimming around in the base of the pool here at the Moss Garden. And occasionally we'll see a nice big python that's sitting there to catch all the frogs that come in. And many species of frog in the Moss Garden. And you can see here all that moss on the rocks, because you just got that continual water. You can see it clearly dripping out. The water's it's almost like rain falling from the side of the gorge. And because it's been doing it for thousands of years, in such a sheltered area, you just get this thick moss over all the rocks. And just above that, right at the junction between the two layers, you get that row of ferns, and that row of ferns clearly marks the boundary between the two rock layers. And you can also see the fig tree roots underneath it, which have just been completely covered in moss. Many, many different species of moss too. It's, you tend to think of moss as just being one species, but when you look closely at it, it's quite an astounding variety in it. The trees above us here in the moss garden are actually sandpaper fig, and it's another one of the species of native figs. And when you feel the leaf, it is almost like sandpaper. They're very, very rough surface on the leaves. They tend to thrive in this area because of the permanent moisture. Water pouring down through this area over thousands of years just carves out these very narrow, tiny canyons. Some places you can literally touch the sides. You see too on some of the lower rocks close to the water that red colour, the bright red, which is red water lichen. It's actually a lichen that grows on the rocks. It loves these very damp, moist, dark conditions. The red on the rocks against the green of the moss, it's a very beautiful contrast. You can really see that layer, the boundary between the two layers. And you just got the water continually dripping out from the point now.
So that line of ferns kind of demarcates the
Yeah.
boundary between the sandstone and the mudstone.
That's the exact boundary, yeah.
Wow.
There's a very sharp boundary between the two layers. It's actually what we call an unconformity. A very huge age difference between the two layers. The mudstone was laid down, and then there's been obviously a very, very long period of when there's been mainly erosion rather than deposition, and then the sandstone has been deposited on top of it. And so there's a very, very big, sharp age difference between the two layers. You can clearly see the cluster figs, the little clusters of fruit on the fig trees, and they come directly off of the trunks of the tree. It's one of the most bizarre trees. Yeah, the age difference between the mudstone is probably more in the order of about 250, 260 million years, whereas the sandstone's about 180, 190 million years. So there's a big age difference between the two. There's almost 80 million years difference between them. It's thought during that time there would have been a lot of sort of main erosion rather than deposition. In very different conditions, the mudstone is formed in an ocean. It's reasonably deep water sediment. Whereas the sandstone is more sort of an estuary area, estuarine, delta area. That was Moss Garden, which is another very, very special place in Carnarvon Gorge. The beauty of Carnarvon Gorge is that the different side places that you go into, the little side trips, are all completely different. None of them are even remotely similar. This one's very, very unique.